Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to All the Mods Expert Remastered. So, since last episode, I have done a bit of work in the immersive engineering room. I've added these quarter cylinders, kind of for like, almost to give these pillars like kind of like a design. And I've started doing some, basically playing around with some ideas. I quite like this. Like, it's like little light, like side cylinders. So I'm going to start going through and maybe adding some detail stuff. But I will say that hopefully after this episode, I'm going to be working up here. Because we're going to have flight, and I can actually start tackling that upper section at long last. So, but I did go through and I added a ceiling to this finally, so mobs aren't jumping down in here anymore. And I went ahead and added 3 more metal presses. And 2 of these have plates on them. The other ones I don't have yet. This is going to be for cartridges and for plates. But I did go ahead and set up those metal presses, and I'm actually going to have, once I automate this, I'm going to have like a glass wall that comes down so the items come through like little holes in the wall, like little conveyor belt lines that run out of this area into here. So I'm actually going to have that coming down right here, I do believe. So, and then I also spent a bit of time mining and a bit of time prepping for this episode. And I also made a double crusher and a powered furnace for our uses. So, do have those. And it's funny because actually the powered furnace, since these aren't plugged up to transfer nodes or to hoppers or anything like that, because we've pretty much always had our iron stuff. The bloomery was plugged up with the hopper. Over here we have transfer nodes. I actually got the getting hardware achievement. And I know Cyraven was laughing about it on the Discord because I finally got that achievement. But it's the first time I've ever actually pulled iron out of a furnace. So I will say that between last episode and this one, I actually ran out of iron. So I had to go do quite a bit of mining. Quite an extensive amount of mining. So we do have iron now. We've got 590 ingots. But briefly I was out of iron. I was completely tapped out on iron. And over here I went ahead and set this up. We've got an advanced machine casing, induction furnace, those 2 blast furnace preheaters that they gave us for the quest reward. Because I got to thinking, we're never actually going to need those. Because progression-wise, for making steel, at least for the immersive engineering route, you know, you start with the original blast furnace, and then you get the advanced blast furnace, which is the reinforced bricks that they had kind of set us up to make a while back. And then you move to the arc furnace. Well, we're going to be skipping that second step and pretty much going straight for the arc furnace. So, because we never really came to a point where I felt like we needed the improved blast furnace. Because steel wasn't, I mean, I used a lot of steel, and I will say that prepping all the steel for this episode was a little bit painful because I ran out of steel. If we take a look in here, I prepped all of this stuff, and this is pretty much everything that we need for making our arc furnace, minus the reinforced blast bricks, which we're going to make those. I'm actually going to tear down this blast furnace, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, in fact. And this is going to get replaced with another manual coke oven, and eventually automatic coke oven that we use for making coal coke. Okay, because the ones, we have those 18 downstairs, but that's just for our automated setup. So I'm going to have 2 up here just for making coal coke. Anyways, and this is, yeah, that's done. Okay. I used that creosote oil to make a lot of treated wood, but the system downstairs is backed up on creosote, and I was just trashing this creosote, like breaking the block and replacing it and rebuilding the multi-block because I just had so much creosote. It's ridiculous. So anyways, before we get into setting up the arc furnace, our first step is going to be getting ourselves, if we take a look at the metallurgic infuser, we're going to get the first step done, which is the blast furnace. Okay, so we've got all of this, we just need the graphite electrodes. And actually, before I forget, let me go ahead and throw in another stack of that coal coke, because I've got 17 HOP graphite, but it's just a little bit shy of what we're going to need in total for this. So I will have to make just a little bit more. It's not much. And I'm going to go ahead and grab some more anthracite, because I want to keep that coal coke running. But anyways, we want to make those graphite electrodes, and I guess actually, let me go ahead and pull that back up. The metallurgic infuser, we need to make graphite electrodes, and they need to be the 100% version. We can't do them in the metal press. So we're going to have to use the engineer's workbench or the automated engineer's workbench. And actually, it looks like the automated engineer's workbench. I believe that's a multi-block, though, now that I think about it. We're not going to be getting into that one just yet. We're going to be going for the standard engineer's workbench. So this is just treated wood fence, and then a crafting table. So let me get that together. And I've actually got quite a bit of treated wood now. And there is our engineer's workbench. Alright, so that part is done. I'm just going to dump this stuff into there. And then in addition, we are going to need to get ourselves the blueprint for this. Which we can actually craft this. Let's see, common projectile. I don't want common projectiles. I want arc furnace electrodes. That is the one that I want, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is 7 HOP graphite, just some blue dye, and some paper, which I should have all that stuff lying around. Paper would be about the only thing I might have to craft, but we've got that, so. And a piece of lapis. And I figure this is easier than trying to go find a village that happens to have it. And there we go. Engineer's blueprint. And so yeah, I need 2 more HOP graphite. I actually made a bit extra coke dust, but that's fine because we're actually going to have to make some of these electrodes for our arc furnace. So, alright, so let's go ahead and put down our workbench. And I think we're going to have it setting, we'll have it right there for right now, and then once we get this in place and whatnot, I'll figure out a more permanent place for it, but I do want to have it in this room. So, anyways, we'll go ahead and just put this in. Okay, getting like visual bugs here. Alright. Okay, so there's 2 graphite electrodes, and then I'm just going to need 1 more of those. We'll get that running. There we go. There's our HOP graphite dust. So there we go. And I tell you what, let me go ahead and get that coke running. And the nice thing is, moving forward, when we go to make steel, the arc furnace uses coke dust instead of using coke. So we can go ahead and just break that down. That's not a problem. And I'm going to get this thing smelting. The powered furnace, it can smelt in 2 different slots. So, now there is a bug with it. You'll notice... Oh, there we go. Okay. There is a bug with this where sometimes this doesn't work. It seems like relogging because the server just restarted. I guess the restart fixed it. Because earlier I wasn't able to auto-split. It's a bug that happens sometimes. I know it's been reported to the mod maker, but... You know, it's just one of those things. It doesn't happen all that often, I don't think. There we go. That's all visual bugged out. Okay, so there is our 3 graphite electrodes. That means we can make our blast furnace. And there we go. Blast furnace. Okay. Okay, now the fun begins. For the actual metallurgic infuser, we're going to need 2 resonant flux ducts, which we did make those last episode. And I've got them right here. And by the way, that Corten steel, you'll notice I only have 1 ingot left. I was able to utilize that while making the, I think it was the engineering blocks that I used it for, if I recall correctly. Because there's not a whole lot of uses for that. And honestly, it's not something that we're going to be needing a whole lot of because steel is easy enough to make. Honestly, I think it's easier to make than the Corten steel, truth be told. So, anyways, there is our Mish metal ingots. I did go ahead and get those prepped up between this episode and the last episode. And so the only thing that we're missing right now is the osmium blocks, which I do have the osmium dust ran through that we needed. And I've actually got a bunch of those shards left too, 26 of them. So let's see, we're going to need 18. I'm going to go ahead and run all 22 of this though, because we're going to need it. So might as well. That'll be good. That'll be fine. Okay, so now we actually have to set up the blast furnace proper. And to do this, we're going to have to make reinforced blast bricks, because I'm going to need 27 reinforced blast bricks. You basically have to build a blast furnace inside of the arc furnace multi-block. So, let's see, each reinforced blast brick is 4 steel plates. This is kind of expensive. So altogether, we're going to need, what, 108 of these. And we'll just get this laid out. I guess I'm going to use the manual rolling machine for this. And this thing automatically balances stuff out. So there we go. I'm going to have to give this a little while to craft. I was thinking about making the upgraded version. It is a little bit involved, but it's mainly rolling machine stuff. Like stuff that's crafted through the rolling machine. So, for example, if we take a look here, that way we could let it keep crafting while we're away. 3 pistons, crafting table, steel gear, that's not a problem. The steel gear, honestly, was a lot of the reason I was kind of like, because I'm already going through a lot of steel and I didn't want to make any more until I get the arc furnace, to be perfectly honest. But the charged motor, this requires like some brass and also requires charged coils, which takes small charged wire spools. These are made through metal rolling. So, but you can, I believe it's the medium charge, and then you can craft it down. If you do like a copper block, you'll get a large wire spool that makes 3 mediums, and those make 3 small. You can kind of bulk craft that way. Okay, so there's the last of our steel plates, and then we can get our reinforced blast bricks. There's 16, and then there's 27. Okay, and that is the last thing that we need for the arc furnace. All the rest of the stuff, it's very self-explanatory, so I went ahead and just prepped it off camera. Like I said I was going to do. Now, one other thing that I would like to do, just to make this a little bit easier, because this thing is a very large structure. I want to craft a projector. Okay, and this is pretty easy to craft. 2 iron, glass. We haven't made one yet, and that's simply due to the fact that our multi-blocks up until now, not all that involved, not all that difficult to craft. But there is a bug I noticed when I was looking at the arc furnace between episodes. When I had the engineer's manual open up to the arc furnace, it would crash after like around 10 seconds or something of having the arc furnace opened. That is a bug. I've ran into that. It was actually, I think, on Modern Skyblocks. And it has to do, I believe it has to do with immersive petroleum, I think it is. It's one of the immersive engineering add-ons. I believe it's immersive petroleum. But anyways, it messes with it and causes it to crash if you leave that open for too long. So I figured this would be an easier route to go for that. So we're going to need 2 glass panes, a piece of glowstone, if I can find where my glowstone is, and then 2 pieces of iron. Alright, so I'm going to get these ran into plates real quick. And by the way, if you were wondering, I had those facades, I had those wires, those electric wires that ran up inside of the immersive engineering room. And if you're wondering where those went or what I did with them, because I know some people aren't familiar with the new thermal. If you mainly played thermal in, I think, 1.7, or is it 1.6? I can't remember when they added this, but the structural duct, basically this right here, it crafts 6 at a time, and then you combine one of these with any block, and then you get 6 facades from that. So, they go really far, and you can basically just stick those right onto, like, ducts, any kind of ducts that you're using for facading. So just a heads up if you're not familiar with it. That's how I did that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get our lanterns. There we go. And we can get our projector. There we go. And this tool is quite handy. It's quite handy indeed. Especially for like bigger multi-blocks when you don't want to have to keep comparing stuff to the engineer's manual. What we can do is we can find the arc furnace here. I don't want to leave it open for too long. And then you take your projector, craft it with the engineer's manual, and then you get an arc furnace projector. And you can see it's a 5x5x5, button 3 to rotate, left shift plus button 3 to mirror. And what this does, if you hold this, you can see it's going to place a ghost image down. And we can use this for setting up where we want our arc furnace to go. Okay, so for example, I could set it like right there. I believe that's the cauldron. Yeah, I think that's actually supposed to be the cauldron. But the cauldron's supposed to go in the front. Yeah, that's the front. The cauldron kind of has a weird image there, but basically this is going to tell you layer by layer how to craft this. Okay, now I'm thinking that if we look at this, this is what it's going to look like. That is 5 high. And I think that's where I want it. I thought about putting it down to the floor layer, but I think actually that's how I want it setting. right into there. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I want to do. So, oh, whoops. You have to keep this on your hotbar if you want the ghost image to show up, so just bear that in mind. Alright, so let's get all of our materials. We'll start with the cauldron, goes right there. Then we're going to need heavy engineering block, and you can see it actually highlights whatever you're holding. It's going to highlight it on here where it needs to be placed. So this thing is great. The projector is wonderful. I highly suggest it when it comes to building these larger multi-blocks like this. So steel scaffold right there. Then we've got some sheet metal, and then we're going to need a bunch of these sheet metal slabs, and these pretty much take up most of the slots. By the way, this thing uses up so much steel. So much steel. Alright, there's that, and then I believe it's steel blocks right there, and now you'll notice it jumped to the next stage, because we've put everything down on that first layer that can go there. And for example, if I was to pull this up, you can see it drops down a layer, and if I was to put, say, steel block right there, it says, like, hey, that's not right. It puts a red border around that, so. Alright, and then steel blocks right there. And then we've got heavy engineering. I do quite like this thing because those little borders it puts out and tells you like where everything goes. It's just so handy. And then that, and then we need our reinforced blast bricks. They go right like that. And then, whoops. By engineering blocks, the last of our sheet metal. And then we'll put down the last of our steel blocks. Those are fairly costly, to say the least. I mean, realistically, steel's not something that's difficult to make. But if you're like me and you don't prep it to like the last minute, like that was actually prepping the stuff for the arc furnace was like the last thing that I worked on between episodes. Like I should have had it running while I was mining and stuff like that. It wouldn't have been nearly as painful. But now I waited until like the last thing, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need to prep all this steel for the next episode. So that was pretty bad, but it was my fault for doing that. So okay, so there we go, and you'll notice that now that it's done, it puts a green border around our arc furnace. Woot woot. And then we can just take our engineer's hammer and on the cauldron. Okay, so we just got the hottest topic achievement, and then we can just shift right click, and there we go. And we can use that projector. It's still got the arc furnace projector saved, but then if we just craft it with the engineering manual with something else, it'll change it over. And I do not happen to have, I need to light that up, but anyways, we can open this guy up, and you can see we have a nice GUI here. And what we are going to do is we are going to have to put graphite electrodes into this. Okay, so let's get ourselves, this is actually going to take more coke dust than what I've got. That crafts what, 8? Yeah. So I'm going to need another half stack of coal coke, which it looks like, yeah, that's done running. Okay, well that works out well. And I'll just throw this right into there. Just put that coke dust in there. And by the way, when this set is set to auto split, it automatically splits them in half. So it's quite handy because this thing smelts 2 at a time. So these things honestly weren't all that expensive. The double crusher powered furnace. I mean, last episode we made a powered furnace. So I just made another one of those for our uses. But, alright, let's get ourselves a couple of our graphite electrodes. And then what we can do is we can put these right into this slot here. And right up there you'll see the graphite electrodes actually show up. And they're displayed on the arc furnace. Now, one thing to note, if you recall, when I was doing all the mods 3, not Expert Remastered, but just the regular all the mods, I actually ran into an issue because I had a big ore processing area that was mechanism, then I had the arc furnace set up, and it wouldn't allow you to automatically pump in graphite electrodes. That should be fixed now with the more recent versions of immersive engineering, because he did change that, the mod maker did. So I believe it'll be fixed in this so that we can automatically pump in graphite electrodes so that we can use the arc furnace for automation purposes. I haven't tested it in my test world because I'm not at the point where I'm like, okay, I need to automate the, I need to get the arc furnace automated in the foreseeable future. So, but just a heads up, I believe that should be fixed now. Oh, look at that. That's just great. Man, they're like jumping down. I'm kind of excited to get that upper section done because I do occasionally, it's not all that common, but I do occasionally have company jump down here like to hang out with me. So I'm ready to get that upper section done up there. Okay, so there's our 3 graphite electrodes. These need to be present in this so that it can smelt stuff. And let me go ahead and break that because I definitely don't need creosote. I've got so much creosote, but now we need to get power ran over to this thing, and power needs to come to, let's see, where does the power need to go? I think it's the back, isn't it? Isn't it the back? Let me come in from this side. Okay, it actually crashed on me when I had the engineer's manual open. So, even if you're flipping through and just like reading the pages, it'll still just crash. It's terrible. But that's fine. I figured out what I need to know. And it is these back slots here. They just have a different look, and they always trick me up because they're different than the standard like power input, like what's over here. Well, can't get back there, but they're a bit different than the standard multi-blocks. Now, when I was looking through the graphite electrodes may still, in this version, it may not be until 1.12 or 1.11 or something like that, when the graphite electrodes can be automatically input. Not for sure. So I'll have to mess with that in a test world. I'm not gonna mess with it right now, but when that time comes up, it may not be automatable with the graphite electrodes. It may still have to have manual maintenance to it, but that's okay, if so. Anyways, I need to get some power conduits, and we're just gonna go. I'm gonna have to make some new ones. I've got some lying around here, like, well, there's 5 hardened flux ducts, but I'm gonna need more than that. So lead, glass, redstone. Alright, there's some leadstone flux ducts, and then we'll get a bit of Invar, and we'll get some hardened flux ducts. There we go. There's 35 of them, which should be good. Alright. And we'll get this thing connected up. So I've got a power line that runs like right over there, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to run this behind here, and we'll just bring it out. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Hopefully that didn't mess up my it did mess up my graphite electrodes. Okay, I just cheated my graphite electrodes back in because I feel like that's kind of a bug. I didn't mean to break that block, and it just destroyed my graphite electrode. So anyways, I'm going to run this back in behind here, and, well, actually I can just run it. I'll just run it straight across like this, and we should be like right behind the crusher. Alright, and we'll just plug that up, and there we go. This thing has power now. Okay, and actually I'm going to take this and I'm going to light up like right there. Alright, so this has power, and this has graphite electrodes, and so then what we can do is we can take our osmium, and we can dump it into there. Now, if we were to spread this around, you'll notice that all of these craft at the same time. Now, it does use up a bit more power. As you can see, the more items that you have smelting at once, the faster that's going to consume power. It would be kind of nice if you could auto-spread with these, but you can't. So, but anyways, you'll notice that the graphite electrodes take durability damage. It's about 0.01% per smelt. Okay, it's not a whole lot. They will last for a while. So, but they do need to be managed, over time. Okay, so now we have ourselves osmium. We have osmium, and we'll get our 2 osmium blocks. There we go. And we are ready to go put this stuff in. And osmium, I'm actually going to, let me grab my key real quick. I've got bronze in a compacting drawer, and I don't actually need bronze in a compacting drawer. So this right here, I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, and we're going to drop osmium in there. So I could have got my block out of there, that would have been fine too, but Anyways, I was kind of savoring the moment here. Alright, so I believe we have everything now that we need to craft ourselves our metallurgic infuser. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Okay, now in addition, let me grab... Let's see. Let me grab some more anthracite coal. And let me get like a stack of iron. Because of course before we were making steel through the... Oh, there's where the graphite electrodes went. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to go throw these away. I cheated those in. I thought they got destroyed because I looked everywhere. But now they just tossed clear across the room. So, anyways, we'll throw those into the trash. But anyways, we used to make our steel through the blast furnace. Well, now we can use our arc furnace. So if we were to take and throw in like a stack of that steel, or a stack of that iron, I mean, and some coke dust into this slot. There we go. You'll see it's starting to run, and if we were to spread this out, we could do that and have it make multiple batches of steel at the same time. Now, of course, bear in mind it's going to use power up a little bit faster as we do that. Just depends. I would go, looks like about 7 should be good. Now, I don't know if I was to plug up additional hardened flux ducts. I mean, these can transfer 4,000 RF per tick. That may not be enough to run it at full speed. No, it looks like with 3 flux ducts, it's a input limit. So I plugged up the hardened flux ducts to all 3 slots in the back, and now it's able to handle all of these. So you can see I can craft steel a lot faster. For one, it's way faster per operation for just a single individual piece of steel, but then we can also craft up to 12 pieces at a time. Okay, so it's a lot faster doing that than the way we were doing it before. So, okay, so anyways, we now have our metallurgic infuser. So let's go plug this thing up. And we're going to put this thing to use. So I'm just going to stick it right there. So there we go, it's got power. And then what we can do is, I'm going to start by making a half stack of these, just because I know long term we're going to end up needing, you know what, actually I'm just going to go ahead and make a stack. We'll throw in a stack of redstone. Eventually we can make the compacted redstone or whatever, the one in the enrichment chamber, compressed redstone. And this actually counts as, I want to say it's 8 or 9 redstone, so it actually makes everything go a lot farther. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's a lot more. But the enrichment chamber, we have to get into the empowerer before we can make the enrichment chamber. So, anyways, we'll throw our redstone in there, throw our iron in there, and it's going to start running. So unless it's changed, it should be 1 redstone or 10 redstone in this. If you notice, it adds a 0 to it, basically. Yeah, it's 1 for 1. So 1 redstone, 1 iron makes 1 enriched alloy. Okay. So once we get 2 of these, there we go. Now we've got everything that we need to make our charge pad. So let's pop over here. And mechanism, I mean, we need to get into mechanism. There's other ways that we can charge jetpacks. There's other ways that we can use jetpacks. We didn't necessarily have to make it all the way to mechanism, but I figured it's a good point to reach for us to actually get a charge pad, get a jetpack, and all that good stuff, because we're going to need to get into mechanism. And it's kind of a big, like, it's a big point, I think, within this pack to reach mechanism. But at the same time, I feel like reaching any mod in this pack is kind of a big point. So, every mod that you get to, it's like, yay, new mod. Alright, so we're going to need 3 stone pressure plates. And then we should be all set. Let's get our energy tablet. And then we take this, 2 steel, 3 stone pressure plates, and that gives us a charge pad. And basically what this does is this allows us to charge anything in our inventory that requires RF power. It allows us to charge it just by standing on the charge pad. And as for where to put this, I think I actually kind of want it like in the middle-ish of the room, kind of. Like right here. It's kind of where I want it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it sitting right here. Well, we'll have the charge pad sitting like right there. It means I'm going to have to run some cabling up from the floor. If I do that, that's the only thing, but at the same time, I kind of don't mind. I do want some stuff in the center of this room. And what we'll probably do is facade it and then do something setting on top of the little facade platform. So, by the way, underneath here is a mess because I was trying to find this connection here. So, I have cables like ran all over the place trying to find that, but let's just... I think it'd be best just to do that. Okay. And then we'll just run this up, connect that in, and there we go. The charge pad now has power. Okay, so now we can turn our attention towards a jetpack. And we do have simply jetpacks in this pack, and that's what we're going to be using. We're going to go for the leadstone and then the hardened. I don't know if I'll bother with the reinforced right now. I mean, technically I could pull off the reinforced. Honestly, technically I could probably pull off the resonant. Yeah, if I really wanted to go for it, I could pull off the resonant, I think. But we'll start with, well, let's start with the leadstone. Okay, so let's pop over here. And we'll get this stuff crafted up for our jetpack, which I'm so excited for. Being able to fly is going to be so good. Alright, so leather, iron, there's our leather strap. Then we're going to need a flux capacitor, that's sulfur. Well, these, don't you build upon them? Yes. All the way up. So I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and make 4 flux capacitors. 4 basic flux capacitors. So we're going to need a bit of sulfur, copper, redstone. Do we have much sulfur? Much in the way of sulfur? Ah, we got some right here. Okay, so 4 sulfur, and then we're going to need to get ourselves lead, copper, redstone. Alright, so let's get 1, 2, 3, 4, and that way we've got that available, so it's a little bit easier to make the upgraded jetpacks as we go, because we're going to have to remake each tier of these capacitors, each tier of the jetpack. So, alright, so that's all of that done. Now we just need the leadstone thrusters. These take leadstone flux ducts, which are no problem at all to make. I don't have any. Am I out of glass? I'm out of glass. Okay, let me get some sand running. By the way, one thing that's really awesome, and I say awesome like, not seriously awesome, double compressed sand. Look at this. I was looking at crafting quartz glass the other day. That takes double compressed sand. For 9 quartz glass, double compressed sand. Like, it's so expensive. I mean, it's easy enough. Like, since there's astral sorcery in this pack, you can very easily set up the astral sorcery like sand generator that I used on Sprout. And your sand problems are just gone. I want to say it was nerfed, but I don't know if it's nerfed in 1.10 or if it's the later versions that it ended up getting nerfed. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know why I'm running this through this. I'm not really using that electric furnace anymore, so I don't know. I've gotten in such a habit of using it. So we'll get that smelting in the powered furnace a lot faster. Alright, but anyways, our leadstone flux duct, let's go ahead and just get 6 of those. And then we're also going to need our redstone reception coil, steam dynamo, that's copper gears. We're going to need, what, 2 steam dynamos. I've got the copper right there. And then we're going to need redstone reception coil, that's copper wire. Redstone transmission coil is aluminum wire. Which I've got copper wire right there. We're going to need, what, 2 of those. And then I'm going to need, I'm going to need to get some aluminum wire. And we'll go ahead and throw in some copper. You'll notice if I have that extra conveyor belt before it hits the metal press, it works perfectly fine. So it's just shipping the gears down and crafting gears for us. And then they're popping into here. Okay. So there's our aluminum wire. Alright, redstone transmission coil. There's 2 of those. And then we can get our steam dynamos once I get some iron. There's those, 2 of those. And then we need to get our redstone reception coil, which I'm going to need some gold. And I'm going to also need some more redstonia crystal, because we're starting to get low on that. So let me go, which I made a little bit more of this between episodes, but I just, you start running through this like decently quickly at this point, so. Alright, redstone reception coil, there's 2 of those, and then we can get our 2 leadstone thrusters, and then our leadstone jetpack tier 1. Okay, then if we come over here and we stand on the charge pad, you can see that it's building up energy in our leadstone jetpack. Now we will still eventually have banks where we can put the items in. They charge up passively without us standing there, but I figure a manual place so that we can come over here and maybe, my plan is like long term we'll have like a little, whatever we use, refined storage or AE2, we'll have a little screen here so that we can access that and we can be hanging out on the charge pad charging us up while we're using our storage system. So I may actually shift this back by 1. So maybe have the charge pad setting right there instead. So it's not so close to this, so that we have more room to do facade work on this end, I think. But eventually we're probably going to have like charge pads in like most of the rooms anyways, so. Okay, so there's our tier 1 jetpack, which I'm going to go ahead and move on into upgrading for the tier 2. Oh, it's charging up those flux capacitors. For this, we are going to need probably a lot of Invar. There's some tin, some redstone, some Invar. Alright, and I actually have a bunch more. I believe I still have a bunch more Invar upstairs, I think. I know I've got a lot of bronze up here, like a whole lot of bronze. I believe I prepped more Invar than this, though. Yeah, see, there's almost 2 stacks of bronze. No. I did not, in fact, prep more bronze. I mean, Invar. That's fine. I think we've probably got enough to get the tier 2, to pull off the tier 2. Alright, so for the flux capacitor, there's the tier 2, the hardened flux capacitor. We're going to go ahead and make all 3 of these into hardened versions. And then we're going to need some Invar, and then our hardened thrusters. That takes hardened flux ducts, reactant dynamo, and redstone reception coil. That is redstone transmission. That's more aluminum. And then lead gears for this one. 2 redstone reception coils, and then our 2 hardened thrusters, and our hardened jetpack. Done. And wow, it's actually fully charged. Interesting. Okay, so reinforced jetpack. This takes a bunch of electrum, which I actually have quite a bit. Fuse quartz. Actually, can we use hardened glass? Because some of the stuff is interchangeable with hardened glass, some of it's not. Yes, we can use hardened glass with this. Awesome. Awesome. That means we can actually pull this off fairly easily. It is going to require Invar gears, which I'm about out of Invar. Anyways, I'm going to get that stuff going, and I'm going to get some of this stuff prepped for the tier 3. I think we'll go ahead and go for the tier 3, because all this stuff we've crafted before, and none of this stuff's all that bad. Honestly, I think I may even have those conduits lying around here. We only need, well, we need 4 of them. I don't think I have 4 of them. Oh, no, I've got 3 right there. It's redstone, energy, flux ducts. Yeah, I've got 3, but I need 1 more. So, anyways, I'll be back in just a minute once I get that Invar and once I get some of this stuff prepped for the tier 3. The tier 4, technically I could pull it off, but I'm probably going to wait on the tier 4. I think tier 3 would be a good point to get to. I mean, right now, hardened jetpack is already pretty decent, so. Okay, I ran out of electrum. I actually need 1 more electrum. But I wanted to show you another nice feature of the arc furnace that we now can utilize. And that is if we take, oops, nope, wait. We'll put this, actually I don't think we have to do that. I think if we just spread this out, there we go. We can actually smelt these together. You put your dust on this side, and you put your ingot on this side, and you can get alloys through the arc furnace. But I went ahead and got everything prepped up that we need, and now we can get our reinforced jetpack tier 3. Okay, now I do have another flux capacitor. This is for the tier 4. And one thing to note in this pack, the flux infused jetpack, or not flux infused jet plate, but the flux infused jet plate, not the chest plate, this is not craftable within the pack, so just a heads up. So tier 4, as far as simply jetpacks, that is as far as we're going to be able to go as the tier 4. Now this, I'm not going to craft this right now. I will probably start working on this off camera, but this takes so much Enderium. It's not too bad. I just need, what, destabilized redstone, what, 8, 12, 14 Enderium. So I mean, it's not terrible to make that, but I don't really feel like doing it right this second. I'll probably work on it off camera, but I think we've covered jetpacks enough today. So let's go hop on this charge pad, and we'll get this thing charged up. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this thing on, I guess. There's no way to make an armored version, is there? It's weird because this says it has armor of 6, but it doesn't actually have an armor of 6. And you can see that it, it gives me this missing texture look, which is pretty styling, I have to say. Okay, so I want to go in and, let's see, controls. Let's go down to simply jetpacks. And we've got a few things here. Toggle emergency hover mode, I'm going to leave that alone. I don't generally worry too much about that. Actually, I'm going to set it to like numpad 9. Toggle engine or flux pack, we're going to set that to, what do I have as 0 on the Naga? Maybe plus TIC, release entity. Yeah. And then toggle hover mode, I'm going to set that to add. And there we go. Toggle jet plate charger. I'm just going to set that to like numpad 7. That's another one I don't tend to use. And actually, we're not going to have a jet plate charger anyways, now that I think about it. Because I believe the jet plate charger is only on the final, the tier 5 jetpack, which isn't craftable. So, but anyways, this thing is fully charged, and we can enable hover and engine and all that stuff. And if we come out here, here we go. Dun dun dun. I love it. I love it. I can finally fly. I can finally fly. And it's so good. And one thing I'm curious about, I want to see if the recipes change. I haven't really had a reason as of yet. Oh yeah, I've got the slime boots too. So I can just like let off of it at any point. But the glider, I want to go ahead and craft the open blocks glider. Oh. Wait a second. Man of Steel tough tool rod. Okay. Actually, I've got, it just so happens I've got Man of Steel in here. That will work. And I can't remember, is this crafted? This is casted. Okay. That's fine. We can cast that. And I am going to need some leather, though. I'm about out of leather. Is there a convenient way for me to craft leather in this pack? Atomic Reconstructor. There we go. Also, seasoning rack would work. Industrial squeezer, and it makes blood. You can dry meats and stuff like that. Let's see, altogether we're going to need 12 leather. So let's just grab ourselves 12 rotten flesh. And I've got to craft some more food after this episode. Oh, this is so good. I mean, I've been using the longsword to, like, jump up floors in the base, but, like, having flight's going to be so nice. So, so nice. Alright, we'll just throw that into there, and pow. There we go. There's our 12 leather. And then I need to get this mana steel smelting up. Because we're going to kind of set it up. I mean, the thing is, the tier 3, the power in it's going to last for a while. But we're going to go ahead and make it last even longer. Because we have access to things like the slime boots, which, slime boots, of course, we're not going to take any fall damage. We're going to bounce instead. And then we have the longsword that is just handy to have, I feel like. That's one of those things, if I have access to Tinker's Constructs, I just can't live without my longsword. Just because it's too handy. It's too good. Alright, so we'll get that thing poured. Let's go ahead and get our 2 glider wings. And then we just need this. There we go. Go ahead and put my ingot cast back in there. And we can get our hang glider. Alright. I need to upgrade armor. I'm thinking about doing flux infused armor like fairly soon. Alright, but then if we were to come up here, instead of using the hover mode from the jetpack for like traveling distances, We can just throw on our hang glider and we can hold shift and get like a sprint effect with this, which is quite nice. It's quite nice indeed. And so then we use our jetpack more for the vertical aspect, and we use our hang glider, you know, the horizontal movement, and then I can just let go of that and just bounce. So, oh, we're about to die. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and turn off emergency hover mode, because I don't actually need that at the moment. So, I tend to put those on my Naga, because I tend to toggle my jetpack like on and off and hover on and off a lot. So, it is quite handy. But yeah, see, the reason I wanted to wait until I got the jetpack to do this is because these fountains, these upper section fountains, like all this, I've got to build these up, which hopefully by next episode, I'll have at least one of them in place and kind of at least somewhat finalized-ish and looking good, I hope. So, but anyways, I mean, they're gonna be kind of high up, so I didn't really want to mess with that until I got flight. But which once I get those up, then I can do the walls and have the mobs not being able to get inside and not being able to drop in on us like all the time, which is going to be good. Why am I being attacked by bees? Is there a... Oh, there's a beehive right there. That's why. Okay. Which... I could have swore I made a smoker at some point, but I haven't been able to find it, so... Whatever. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today. I'm really happy with where we've gotten to with our flight and everything. Next episode, we're going to continue onwards. I'm debating. It depends. We're either going to mess with bees a little bit and start getting into gendistry, or we're going to do a bit of work with Botania and start working into that mod a little bit, because we've only really done the basics of it, and then we switch back over to what we're working on. Or we'll work on tech. So, mechanism towards using our apples and our saplings for power. Okay? And progressing in mechanism in general. So, it'll be one of those. I mean, getting to where we need to get to utilize our powers, not all that much effort to get into that. So we might go ahead and knock that out, but I also feel like we've been doing a lot of tech lately. So I wouldn't mind switching gears and doing either bees or Britannia. So I'm not for sure just yet what we're going to be doing next episode, but we'll be doing something next episode. So anyways, I've got a lot of building to do on this series as well as others. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay up to date with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.